The great meeting hall of the Galactic Council stretched high above like a silver mountain. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy sat in their floating chairs, their strange bodies and faces lit by the soft blue glow of the room's lights. Some had forearms, others had scales that changed color when they spoke. A few breathed gas that looked like purple smoke, while others had eyes as big as dinner plates. Commander Zixtala walked to the center of the hall on her 6 legs. Her silver skin reflected the lights as she moved. She was from the Velkarian Empire, one of the strongest groups in the galaxy. In her 4 hands, she held a small device that showed pictures and numbers. "Council members," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall, "I bring news from the outer areas of our space. Our ships have found something strange." The room grew quiet. Even the beings who were always talking stopped to listen. Zixtala pressed a button on her device. A large picture appeared in the air above her head, showed a small yellow star with several planets around it. One of the planets was blue and green. "This system is far from our main space routes," she said. "Most of our maps call it empty, but our sensors have picked up energy readings that should not be there." An old being with gray skin and no hair stood up. This was Arch-Chancellor Morden, the leader of the council. He'd been in charge for over 200 years. "What kind of energy?" he asked. "Power sources. It's big ones. And signs that someone has been moving ships through that area." Council members began to talk among themselves. Their voices mixed together like the sound of wind through metal trees. Morden raised one hand for quiet. "What do our old records say about this system?" Zixtala touched her device again. New words appeared in the air. The files say there was once a species called humans. They lived on the 3rd planet from the star, but that was a very long time ago. A sound like laughing came from all around the hall. Many of the council members found this funny. "Humans," said a being with purple fur and too many teeth. "Those are just old stories. Children's tales," agreed another voice from somewhere in the room. Zixtala waited for the noise to stop. "The old files say humans were a young species. They had just learned to make fire weapons that could destroy cities, the records say. They killed themselves with these weapons about 500 years ago." More laughing filled the hall. Some beings made jokes in languages that sounded like music or breaking glass. Morden nodded his head. "Yes, I remember those old stories. Humans were said to be very violent. They fought wars over everything. Water, land, different ideas about gods. The stories say they even fought wars over the color of their skin. If they ever existed at all," said a voice from the back of the hall. "The energy readings must be from old machines," said another council member. "Maybe some of their war devices are still working?" Zixtala tried to speak again, but these readings are new. They show patterns that look like ship movements. "Old machines can sometimes start working again," Morden said. "Or maybe pirates are using that empty space to hide their ships." Council began to talk among themselves again. Most of them seemed to agree that humans were either dead or had never been real in the first place. Dr. Felinok, a scientist with green skin and 4 eyes, stood up. He was very old and very smart. "I have studied the human stories for many years," he said. "The tales say they were not ready for space travel. They could not even get along with each other on their own planet. How could they build ships that fly between stars?" "They could not," Morden said firmly. "If humans were real, and if they had lived, they would still be stuck on their little blue world, fighting and killing each other." Many council members nodded in agreement. Zixtala felt frustrated. She had seen the readings herself. Something was happening in that system, but she could see that the council did not want to hear about it. "Should we do about the energy readings?" she asked. Morden thought for a moment. "Send one small ship to look around. If there are pirates hiding there, we will deal with them. If there are old machines still working, we will turn them off. But do not waste time worrying about humans. They're just old stories told to young ones," the council voted. Almost everyone agreed with Morden. Only Zixtala and a few others thought they should send more ships to check. As the meeting ended and the beings began to leave, Zixtala stayed behind. She looked at the picture of the blue and green planet still floating. In the air, something felt wrong to her. The energy readings were too clean, too organized to be from old broken machines. And the ship movements showed patterns that looked like someone was watching the edges of Council space. But the Council had made its choice. One small ship would go to look. Zixtala hoped that would be enough. Far away in the space between stars, monitoring stations that belonged to the Council picked up more strange readings. Ships that did not look like any known design were moving through the dark. But the beings who watched the screens thought their machines were broken. They wrote down the readings as mistakes and went back to their regular work. None of them knew that those strange ships were real. And none of them knew that the crews of those ships were watching them back. Captain Velthor stood on the bridge of his warship and looked out at the stars. His ship was called the Starpiercer, and it was one of the fastest ships in the Zephyrian Navy. Velthor was proud of his ship and his crew. They had won many battles against pirates and rebels. Today they were on patrol duty near the edge of Council space. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Most of the time they found nothing but empty space and old rocks floating in the dark. Captain called his sensor officer, a young Zephyrian named Kolvex. "I am picking up something strange." Velthar walked over to look at the screen. His people looked almost like humans, but they were taller and had blue skin that sparkled. In the light, their eyes were bigger, and they could see many colors that humans could not. "What do you see?" Velthor asked. "A ship, sir. But it does not match any design in our files." On the screen, Velthor could see a small vessel moving slowly through space. It was white and gray, with smooth lines and no weapons that he could see. It looked clean and new. "How big is it?" "About the size of our scout ship, sir. Maybe a little bigger." Velthor thought about this. Unknown ships in Council space usually meant trouble. Pirates, smugglers, or rebels trying to hide from the law. "Any signs of weapons?" "No, sir, but it could have hidden guns." "Send them a message. Tell them to stop and prepare to be boarded." Kolvex worked at his control panel. After a moment, he shook his head. "No response, sir. They might not understand our language." "Then use the basic signals. Math and pictures." On the human ship, Commander Sarah Chen watched her screen with growing worry. She was a small woman with dark hair and sharp eyes. She had been in space for 10 years, but this was her first time this far from Earth. Her ship looked like a simple research vessel, but it was really a military ship in disguise. Earth had sent many ships like this one to watch the edges of alien space and learn about their enemies. "Commander," said her communications officer, Lieutenant Torres, "they are sending us signals, basic math, and some pictures." Sarah looked at the signals on her screen. The alien ship was showing numbers and simple shapes. Then came pictures that seemed to say, "Stop and come with us." "They want us to surrender," she said. "What do we do?" asked Torres. Sarah thought quickly. Earth had trained her for this moment. If aliens found them, the most important thing was to send information back home. Earth needed to know what they were dealing with. "Send a peaceful response," she said. "Use the same math signals. Show them we are friendly." Torres worked at his controls. He sent back simple number patterns and pictures of their ship with no weapons pointed at the aliens. On the Starpiercer, Velthor watched the return signals with interest. "They seem to understand us," Kolvex said. "But they are not stopping." Could see that the unknown ship was starting to turn away. It was not moving fast, but it was clearly trying to leave. "Power up our weapons," he ordered. "Maybe that will make them stop." The Starpiercer's guns began to glow with energy. The alien ship was much bigger and stronger than the human vessel. On Sarah's ship, alarms started to ring. "They are charging weapons." "Ada," Torres shouted. Sarah felt her heart speed up. This was the worst thing that could happen. First contact with aliens, and they were hostile. "All stop," she ordered. "Keep our engines ready." Her ship slowed down, but did not stop completely. "Send the emergency message to Earth," she said. "Everything we have learned, send it now." Torres pressed several buttons at once. A special message shot out from their ship. It's moving faster than light toward Earth. The message contained everything they had seen and learned about the alien ship. "Message sent," Torres said. "Good, now. Try to talk to them again. Show them we Want peace? But Velthor was already losing patience. In his experience, ships that tried to run were usually guilty of something. Fire a warning shot, he ordered. A bright beam of energy shot past the human ship. Missing it by only a few hundred meters, Sarah saw the energy blast go by her window. All power to engines, she ordered. Get us out of here. Her ship began to move faster, trying to escape, but the alien ship was quicker. They are running, Kolvex reported. Should we chase them? Velthor smiled. Running ships were always fun to catch. Follow them, but do not destroy the ship. I want to know who they are and what they are doing here. The chase began. The human ship was fast, but the Starpiercer was faster. Sarah's crew worked hard to escape, but they all knew it was hopeless. We fight them? Torres asked. Sarah shook her head. Our weapons are not strong enough. Earth needs to know what happened here more than we need to win this fight. The alien ship caught up to them in less than an hour. It grabbed Sarah's ship with a powerful energy beam and pulled it into a large cargo bay. When the alien soldiers came aboard, Sarah and her crew did not fight. They put their hands up and let themselves be captured. Velthor walked through the human ship with great interest. Everything looked strange, but also familiar. The controls were different, but he could see how they worked. The air smelled different too. Bring the prisoners to my ship, he ordered. When Velthor first saw the humans, he could not believe his eyes. They looked almost like his own people, but smaller and with different colored skin. Their hair grew in strange ways, and their eyes were smaller. Incredible, he said to his second officer. They really do exist. Sarah and her crew were put in a holding cell. He could hear the alien crew talking in excited voices outside. Do you think they know about Earth? Torres asked quietly. Not yet, Sarah said, but they will soon. We need to be ready for questions. What Sarah did not know was that Velthor was already planning to become famous. He would be the captain, who proved that humans were real. The council would reward him greatly for this discovery. But first, he wanted to study these creatures. He wanted to learn everything about them before he returned to council space. He had no idea that the message Sarah sent was already on its way to Earth, and he had no idea that Earth had been preparing for this day for a very long time. The news of the captured humans spread through the Galactic Council like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every member knew that Captain Velthor had found real, living humans in space. The great meeting hall was full of excited voices and flashing lights as beings from across the galaxy talked about this amazing discovery. Arch-Chancellor Morden stood at the center of the hall trying to keep order. His old face showed surprise and worry. For hundreds of years, humans had been just stories. Now, they were real and had somehow learned to travel between stars. This changes everything, said Dr. Felinock, the scientist with green skin. We must study them carefully, learn how they think and what they want. Where is Captain Velthor now? Asked a council member with too many arms. He is bringing the prisoners here, Morden replied. His ship will arrive in 3 days. Commander Zixthala felt both proud and worried. She'd been right about the energy readings, but she wished the council had listened to her warnings. Now they were dealing with the unknown. What do we know about these humans? She asked. Morden touched a control pad, and information appeared in the air above them. Captain Velthor has sent us his first reports. The humans look much like Zephyrians, but smaller. They breathe the same air we do. Their ship was advanced, but not as powerful as ours. How many were on the ship? Asked another voice. All appear to be adults. They wear uniforms that suggest a military organization. The word military made the hall grow quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Dr. Felinock stepped forward. Military uniforms could mean their whole species is organized for war. Or it could mean only some of them are soldiers. Either way, said a being with purple scales, they cannot be very dangerous. One small ship against our entire fleet? Many. Council members agreed with this. They had thousands of ships and controlled hundreds of worlds. What could one small species do against them? But Morden was more careful. He should not make quick decisions. These humans have surprised us once. Already. 3 days later, Captain Velthar's ship arrived at the Council's main station. The station was huge, bigger than most moons. Ships from every species in the Council could dock there at the same time, Sarah. Chen and her crew were moved to a special holding area designed for studying new species. The room had everything they needed to stay alive, but they could not leave. Cameras watched them all the time. Sarah knew they were being studied, but she did not mind. She was studying the aliens too. Every piece of information she learned might help Earth someday. The aliens were clearly advanced. Their technology was smooth and quiet. Their station was so big it had its own weather systems. But Sarah noticed things that might be weaknesses. The aliens seemed to work slowly, taking time to discuss every decision. They were careful, but maybe too careful. Dr. Felinock came to talk with the humans every day. He was kind and curious, asking questions about Earth and human culture, but he always seemed surprised by their answers. You say humans fight wars with each other? He asked Sarah during one meeting. Yes, Sarah replied. We have had many wars throughout our history. But you are all the same species. Why would you fight each other? Sarah thought about how to explain this. We fight over resources, ideas, territory. Sometimes we fight because we fear each other. Dr. Felinock wrote this down carefully. And yet you have learned to work together to build spaceships? When we face a common threat, we can unite. What threat made you unite? Sarah looked directly at him. The knowledge that we are not alone in the universe. This answer made Dr. Felinock very uncomfortable. He left early that day. Meanwhile, the council was making plans. They had decided that humans were interesting but not dangerous. The fact that they had only found one small ship proved that the human species was still weak. We should take control of their system, suggested Admiral Krentok, a military leader with gray skin and red eyes. If they have learned space travel, they might become a problem later. You mean invade their world? Asked Morden. Not invade. Pacify. We bring enough ships to make them surrender without a fight. Then we can study their technology and add their system to our territory. Many council members liked this idea. It seemed safe and profitable. Commander Zixthala disagreed. We know almost nothing about them. What if they have hidden weapons? What if that one ship was just a scout? Then we will deal with those problems when we find them, Admiral Krentok said. We cannot let an unknown species develop near our borders. The debate went on for hours. In the end, the council voted to send a pacification fleet to the human system. It would be large enough to handle any resistance, but not so large as to destroy everything. Admiral Krentok was put in charge of the mission. He began planning immediately, choosing ships from 6 different species. The fleet would have over 200 vessels, enough to overwhelm any defense the humans might have. What the council did not know was that Earth had been preparing for this exact situation for 30 years. It had started when Earth's deep space telescopes first detected alien radio signals. The world's governments had worked in secret to prepare for contact. They built hidden shipyards, developed new weapons, trained crews for space combat. The ship Sarah commanded was one of dozens sent to watch alien space and learn about potential enemies. Every piece of information they gathered was sent back to Earth through special fast Earth light messages. Earth's leaders knew about the Galactic Council, their technology, and their military power. They had studied alien ship designs and battle tactics. Most importantly, they had learned that the aliens thought humans were extinct. This gave Earth a huge advantage. The aliens would not be ready for organized resistance. While Admiral Krentok planned his easy victory, Earth's military commanders prepared their own surprise. Hidden bases throughout the solar system worked day and night to get ready. The aliens thought they were dealing with one small, weak species that had just learned to fly between stars. They had no idea they were about to face an entire world that had spent decades preparing for war. In her cell, Sarah Chen waited and watched. She knew that Earth had received her message. She knew that her people were getting ready. Soon the aliens would learn what humans could really do. Admiral Krentok stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, and watched as the last ships joined his fleet. 237 vessels floated in space around him, their hulls gleaming in the light of the nearby star. Ships from 6 different species, all armed with the best weapons the Galactic Council could provide. The Admiral was a Korthok, a species known for their military skills. His gray skin was covered in scars from many battles, and his red eyes glowed with confidence. He had never lost a fight, and he did not plan to start now. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his communications officer. "Excellent," Krentok replied. "Set course for the human system. Maximum speed." The fleet moved as one, jumping into hyperspace toward the small yellow star where humans lived. The journey would take 2 days. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, Admiral Rebecca Martinez stood in the secret command center, buried deep under the mountains of Colorado. The room was filled with screens showing information from across the solar system. Officers from every nation on Earth worked side by side, their old differences forgotten in the face of this threat. "Admiral," called Major Kim, her intelligence. "Officer, we are receiving the final message from Commander Chen." On the main screen appeared Sarah's face. She looked tired but determined. Behind her, they could see the alien holding cell where she had been kept for weeks. "Earth Command," Sarah said quietly. "I'm transmitting all data on alien fleet movements. They're coming with over 200 ships. Admiral Krentok commands the fleet. He expects no real resistance." Sarah paused and looked directly at the camera. "I want you to know that my crew and I are ready. You understand our mission. Give them hell, Admiral." The message ended. Admiral Martinez felt a mixture of pride and sadness. Sarah and her crew knew they would probably not survive what was coming, but they had done their job perfectly. "How long do we have?" Martinez asked. 2 days until they reach the outer system," replied Major Kim. "Send the activation signal to all units. Operation Homecoming begins now." Across the solar system, hidden bases came to life. On the dark side of the moon, massive doors opened to reveal shipyards that had been building in secret for 20 years. Asteroid mining stations powered up weapons that had been disguised as industrial equipment. Space habitats that looked like research stations revealed their true purpose as military fortresses. The human fleet was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Instead of a few large ships, humans had built thousands of smaller vessels. One was designed for one purpose: to fight and win against a superior enemy. 2 days later, Admiral Krentok's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the human solar system. The Admiral expected to see the primitive defenses of a young species. Instead, his sensors showed almost nothing. "Where are their ships?" asked Captain Velthor, who had been assigned to the fleet as a guide. "I see some industrial activity around." "The third planet," reported the sensor officer. "Few stations near the large moon. Nothing that looks military." Admiral Krentok studied the displays with growing confidence. The humans had even less than he expected. "Move the fleet toward their homeworld. Standard formation." The alien fleet began its approach to Earth, moving in perfect order. Each ship knew its place and mission. They would surround the human planet and demand surrender. If the humans refused, they would destroy a few cities to show their power. It would be quick and easy. On Earth, Admiral Martinez watched the alien fleet approach on her screens. Her own ships were hidden throughout the system, waiting for the right moment. "They are moving exactly as predicted," she said to her staff. "Single formation, no scouts ahead, no reserve forces. They really do think we are helpless." "All units are in position," reported Colonel Santos, her tactical officer. "Stealth systems are working perfectly. They cannot see us." Martinez nodded. Earth's ships used technology the aliens had never encountered. Instead of energy shields, They had special hull coatings that bent light and sensor beams around them. 2 alien eyes. The human ships were invisible. The alien fleet reached Earth's orbit without seeing a single human warship. Admiral Krentok was pleased but also puzzled. Even primitive species usually had some kind of defense. "Open a channel to the planet," he ordered. The message went out in dozens of languages, including the human languages scientists had learned from the prisoners. "Humans of Earth. This is Admiral Krentok of the Galactic Council. Your species has been found guilty of unauthorized expansion into Council space. You will surrender immediately and submit to Council authority. Resistance is futile." The response came not from the planet, but from somewhere in space. It was Sarah Chen's voice, somehow broadcasting from the outer system. "Admiral Krentok," Sarah said calmly. "This is Commander Chen of the Earth Defense Force. I am speaking to you from the ESS Defiance, currently positioned beyond your sensor range." On his bridge, Admiral Krentok was confused. His prisoners had escaped? How was that possible? Sarah continued speaking. "Admiral, you have entered our star system with a hostile fleet and demanded our surrender. This is an act of war against the human species." "Your species has no choice," Krentok replied. "You are outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender now, and your people will be treated fairly." Admiral Sarah said, and there was something in her voice that made Krentok feel uneasy. "You have made a serious mistake. You assumed we were weak because you caught one small ship. You assumed we were unprepared because we did not attack you first. You assumed we were primitive because your old records said so." The alien admiral was getting angry. "Enough talk. Surrender, or we will open fire on your cities." Admiral Sarah said quietly, "You should have accepted our offer to leave peacefully. But since you have chosen war, let me show you what humans do to those who threaten our home." She paused for just a moment, then spoke one word that would change everything. Fire. The space around Earth suddenly exploded with light as hundreds of human ships appeared from nowhere, their weapons already shooting at the alien fleet. The battle for Earth had begun. The first thing Admiral Krentok noticed was that his ship's alarms were screaming. The second thing he noticed was that space around his fleet had become a deadly light show of weapons, fire, and explosions. "Where did they come from?" shouted at his sensor officer. "Unknown, Admiral. They just appeared. Hundreds of ships." On his screens, Krentok could see human vessels attacking from every direction. They were smaller than his ships, but there were so many of them, and they moved in ways that made no sense. A group of human ships dove straight at one of his cruisers, firing weapons that cut through the alien shields like they were made of paper. When the cruiser tried to turn away, the human ships split apart and attacked from 3 different angles. "Their weapons are different," reported his weapons officer. "They are not using energy beams. They're shooting solid objects at very high speed." "Impossible," Krentok said. "No one uses kinetic weapons in space combat." But the evidence was right in front of him. Human ships were firing metal slugs that moved so fast they punched holes clean through alien hulls. The energy shields that protected Council ships were useless against these simple but deadly weapons. Another alien ship exploded as 3 human vessels attacked it at once. The human ships worked together like a pack of hunting animals, surrounding their prey and striking from all sides. "Admiral," called his communications officer. "Captain Nexstar is requesting help. His ship is under attack by 12 human vessels." Krentok looked at his tactical display. Captain Nexstar's ship was surrounded by human fighters that darted around it like angry insects. Every time the alien ship tried to target one, 2 others would attack from behind. "Send Squadron 5 to help him," Krentok ordered. But Squadron 5 never made it. As the alien ships moved to help their friend, they ran into a wall of human vessels that seemed to come from empty space. The humans had been waiting in ambush. On the bridge of the ESS Defiance, Commander Sarah Chen watched the battle with grim satisfaction. She had not really escaped from her prison. Instead, she had been rescued by a human strike team that had infiltrated the Council station. Now, she was back where she belonged, commanding ships in battle. "All squadrons report successful engagement," said her tactical officer, Lieutenant Park. "Enemy formation is breaking apart," Sarah nodded. The human battle plan was working perfectly. Instead of fighting the alien ship to ship, they were using swarm tactics. 10 or 15 small human ships would attack each large alien vessel, overwhelming their defenses through speed and numbers. "What is our status on the stealth attack?" she asked. "Ghost Squadron is in position, ready to strike the enemy flagship." Sarah smiled. Ghost Squadron was made up of the most advanced human ships, ones that could become completely invisible to alien sensors. While the main battle raged, these ships had snuck close to Admiral Krentak's flagship. "Tell them to begin their attack run." In space, near the Dominator, 12 human ships appeared as if from nowhere. They had been floating invisible just a few kilometers away, waiting for orders. Admiral Krentak felt his ship shake as the first human weapons hit his hull. His shields flickered and failed. "Damage report," he yelled. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. They are targeting our engines." The human ships were not trying to destroy the flagship quickly. Instead, they were carefully shooting out its weapons and engines, leaving it helpless but alive. "Admiral," his communications officer said with fear in his voice, "we are receiving surrender demands from 47 of our ships. They are asking permission to retreat." Krentak could not believe what he was hearing. His mighty fleet was falling apart. Ships that had never lost a battle were begging to run away. On his main screen, he watched a sight that would give him nightmares for the rest of his life. A human ship, much smaller than one of his cruisers, was flying straight at the alien vessel. The cruiser fired everything it had, but the human ship kept coming at the last second. The human ship did something impossible. It disappeared for just a moment, then reappeared inside the cruiser's shields. The collision destroyed both ships in a ball of fire. "They are ramming our ships," the sensor officer reported. "Deliberately crashing into them." This was something no council species had ever seen. In their wars, ships tried to stay alive. Captains who lost their vessels were dishonored. But humans seemed to think that dying while taking an enemy with you was something to be proud of. "Admiral," came another voice. "Squadron 12 reports they are out of ammunition. Humans keep coming no matter how many we destroy." Krentak was beginning to understand the terrible truth. His fleet was not fighting an ordinary enemy. These humans fought like creatures with nothing to lose and everything to prove. "Order all ships to retreat," he said quietly. "Sir." I said, "Retreat! Get us out of here!" The alien fleet began to pull back, but the humans did not let them go easily. Human ships chased the retreating aliens, hitting them again and again. Some alien vessels were too damaged to escape and had to surrender. In the end, only 68 ships from Admiral Krentak's original fleet of 237 made it back to Council space. The rest were either destroyed or captured. Admiral Krentak sat in his damaged flagship and tried to understand what had happened. He had brought the finest fleet in the galaxy to crush a primitive species. Instead, that species had crushed him. His communications officer looked up from his station. "Admiral, we are receiving a message from the human commander." Sarah Chin's face appeared on the screen. She looked calm and professional, not like someone who had just won an impossible victory. "Admiral Krentak," she said, "I hope you will carry an accurate report back to your council. Tell them that humanity is willing to discuss peace, but any future negotiations will take place in your territory, not ours." She paused and looked directly at him through the screen. "Tell them that humans are not a myth. We are not extinct. And we are definitely not helpless. If your council wants war, we are ready to bring it to every world you control." The message ended, leaving Admiral Krentak alone with his defeat. He had come to conquer a legend, and instead had awakened a nightmare. The galaxy would never be the same.